Catus, Maximus here. This time we got a little review of this Plattina number 1002. Now this is a self-adjusting geared head open-end wrench, and this actually is not a bad unit. It's made in Germany. This is an older unit. We can see kind of a more basic design, just the flats, kind of left the corners there. Otherwise, I mean, it does run smoothly. It does seem to be made pretty well. Pretty nice and tight jaw. We can see some pretty deep serrations to help prevent it from slipping. I guess the biggest criticisms is that this handle could be a lot longer, to tell you the truth, considering that this thing will go all the way from like 5/32 or 7/32, just under a 1/4 inch or about 7 millimeters, all the way up to huge, up to 1 3/16 or about 30 millimeters or so. So with how big this jaw can get, it seems real strange that it only has like a 5-inch handle. It's also quite thin. I mean, this handle is maybe 6 millimeters thick or 1/4 inch thick. So if you're putting a lot of force on it, it's actually going to bite into your hand. This is an old tool. It is indeed made in Germany. We can see made in Germany right there. I like that it has a directional arrow. And what's an interesting little aspect is they included a little fletching on the arrow. That's a nice little touch. So anyway, I've reviewed and have quite a few different styles of open-end wrenches, and so this would be pretty good in situations versus, say, the traditional adjustable wrench, crescent wrench, because of the fact that when you pull the handle, the tighter it gets, the more firmly you're grabbing onto the fastener. So when you use this thing, the other big criticism, this does not have a spring. It really needs a spring, so you kind of have to use your finger as a spring, and then once it gets onto the fastener, the harder you press on it, or the more stuck it is, the harder the teeth or the jaws want to grab onto it, because as you're putting the force on, it's causing the gear head to pull those tighter. Now this, I had some spring-loaded ones from the O'Reilly's Power Torque that I got from O'Reilly's Auto Parts, but I can't seem to find them. But that's the big Achilles heel to this unit, is the lack of the spring. So in a lot of situations, this head is flopping around. Once again, if you get it on the fastener and you're not able to really get a finger on it, you can't really get it to tighten up. You can by fiddling around with it, but then you can end up in these situations where the corner of the fastener kind of gets caught in the teeth. So you do have to kind of get it to grip the fastener, but once you do, it is a pretty solid wrench. All a spring would do is just a real light one just strong enough to cause the head to want to flop over that way. That way you could kind of push it on the fastener and it would automatically self-tighten, and then you could use it for ratcheting, kind of like this Craftsman here. Since it has it's designed to be a ratcheting adjustable wrench, but it's just the fact that it's spring-loaded, so as the handle springs back, it allows it to essentially slip, and then you can use it for ratcheting, even though there's a lot of back drag. Something like this probably would fall to the same kind of issues, where if even a light spring, as soon as the bolt got loose, then it would end up just kind of rocking the bolt back and forth. Anyway, I thought it was a neat tool. There are going to be certain situations where having kind of a stubby wrench that has a really wide range and the serrated teeth, if the fastener's partially stripped or something, I think that's where these serrated teeth really will come in handy. Because once again, once you get on the fastener, even if you're way out here at the very end, you may even be better off because you get more leverage. But it's just the fact that it really could be used for nut busting purposes, because that's the wonderful action of having this geared head and the pivoting handle, is it just becomes a self-tightening situation. As the bolt resists more, the more pressure you put on, the harder it's going to pull in on those jaws. Now these isn't wrench pliers where you have a second handle that would essentially be attached to the head itself to allow you to really grip it tight and then have the same compounding force-based action. But for something that's pretty compact, actually pretty thin, and in certain situations where you couldn't get in wrench pliers, this may still be valid. But it's more of kind of a novelty tool, and it wouldn't be likely that there's a lot of situations in which this would do the job that, say, some Knipex wrench pliers or something like that could not do. And of course, the last issue is those handle dynamics. If you're working on a long fastener, then the wrench is going to be offset. If you're working on a mid-size hammer, then the wrench is going to be straight. And if you're working on a small one, the wrench is going to be offset. And there may be situations where you need to get out a small fastener, but you can't get access to it in this angle. You need to be like straight on. In that situation, it just doesn't work very well. So I think it was just more of a take on trying to improve the ubiquitous adjustable end wrench, and it certainly is built really nice, runs really smooth, great machining, but unfortunately its real world applications are a little bit more limited, just because you end up spending, once you use this wrench to break the fastener, you need something else to actually remove it, because this thing would end up being slow, and you'd find a lot of situations where it just doesn't work. I mean, this would be something, it would be more for like changing wheels on a bicycle or something like that, to tell you the truth. But I thought it was kind of cool and did want to share it with you, because these designs are not very common. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.